are an extremely important matter, and that is the sugar burnings that are occurring in the glades. Joining me to my far right is Mr. Coffey, who is a longtime resident of the glades. You'll be hearing from him later. Fred Taylor, a legendary NFL player and community activist in the glades, longtime resident along with his family. Zach West, the lead attorney on the class action lawsuit, and Frank Biden, who's a senior advisor here at the Berman Law Group. I am Joseph Abruzzo, Director of Government Relations and retired state senator from the Glades region. Before we begin, if you look in the back of the room, we're going to play a short video explaining a little bit of what is occurring in the Glades.
The air is not breathable.
County County getting at least 700 hospitalizations for asthma for every 100,000 people.
Even we have adults that are suffering.
Seems like they're helpless.
Children who have upper respiratory problems. Mothers who are concerned about putting their kids to bed at night when the cane is burned. I'm Frank Biden. I'm out here in the community of Belle Glade. Belle Glade happens to be the center of the sugar industry. The sugar industry in the United States is supplemented to the tune of around $4 billion. Yes, I said $4 billion per year.
What is happening in the sugar industry burns the cane. It's dumping carcinogens over the community. And we've learned about the respiratory problems.
Well, I think there's some concern from what's been going on in the community. We're showing lack of concern for the community. They burning fields and everything that comes from the air, the pollutants, the stuff that people inhale, it can be bad to your health.
Sugarcane is burned.
There's a lot of people that suffer.
U.S. Congress and federal government use the sugar industry $4 billion a year in subsidy. They basically pay our tax money $4 billion every year.
It appears that someone's house is on fire. But this is the normal Saturday morning.
My whole issue is me being a retired nurse. I'm concerned about how to do these children.
Children with already existing respiratory illnesses find that their conditions are exacerbated. People who don't have asthma develop onset asthma.
Yeah, the breathing machine, every eye,
When he breathes so hard, like right now, you listen, breathe
back
so hard.
here.
So I gotta keep him machine. It's real bad.
Her mom was saying she knows so many people that have left because of the burning. They went to West Palm.
They don't burn on the days when the wind is blowing that way.
Since 2004, there have been 171,000 burns in the Glades region alone. And when we come out here to these beautiful ag lands, knowing that they turn into dangerous carcinogens that get dumped on the community, you have to ask yourself the question, why? One thing that we learned is that the sugarcane burns occur only when the winds are blowing over the glades, over the western community, Belle Glade, Pahokee, and South Bay. That is just wrong to me. When the winds are shifted to the east, to the more affluent community, they do not burn.
Until somebody puts some attention on this and gets the resources y'all need.
And Eric seems like a perfect case of why it's got to stop.
Yeah, the little babies are most affected. Little kids.
I heard alert someone.
Yeah.
You're saying it sounds like a bear. Wow.
It's little kids though. Because a lot of kids' body ain't strong enough for it. So kids, when they do it, they're going to pay.
My son took on his part of bronchitis asthma. And thank God he moved to Palm Beach and he hadn't experienced it before. But it's bad you have to deal growing up with stuff like the health condition. And it's sad. They don't know all these mayors, all these big people, politics in place. Nobody addresses health care. They talk about it, but they don't do anything about it.
Yeah, Fred, what do you think about what we saw out there?
I think now is a good opportunity to help the community by spreading that awareness. And hopefully being change thing for a younger generation. Because that little boy,
Yeah,
that should never happen.
all bets off there.
That should never happen.
People who own the factories, who are educated and know what's happening, and haven't taken on the responsibility of trying to do something about it. And that's sad.
Just something I saw a second ago, which is ironic. They're on the sign, that's why I slowed down. And every time I come back home, I'm always look for that sign or I come this way. It reads, welcome to Belle Glade. The soil is her fortune. Well, they made the fortune of the soil there. All of the resources haven't been put back. You know, the fortune that they've made from the soil hasn't been put back into Belle Glade.
The air is not breathable.
Palm Beach County had nearly 700 hospitalizations for asthma for every 100,000 people.
You have adults that are suffering.
Seems like they're helpless.
Children who have upper respiratory problems. Mothers who are concerned about putting their kids to bed at night when the cane is burning.
My name is incurred. I've been living in Belle Glade for 23 years. I just had my first son in my act. He was born February 6, 2019. It started in April 2019. He was diagnosed with asthma. And due to the burning, he cannot stay here. He's suffering from wheezing, breathing problems as well. And I just wish they could really stop the burning because my child is suffering from asthma. He's so young. He's 4 months and already diagnosed with asthma and suffering that a grown-up has to go through. So I just really hope they can stop the burning.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Fred Taylor.
How's everybody doing today? Thanks again for coming. And I'll be quick, but I do want to just take this moment and use this platform and this opportunity to speak for the people that are speechless, the people that are pretty much, for the most part, helpless in a lot of sense. They're not hopeless, because they're still out there and they're still trying to find a way. They still try to take advantage of whatever opportunity that they may have to work and to be able to take care of themselves and their families, even in the midst of struggling and having to endure these health issues that have taken place for years, and they continue to try their best to survive and make things work. So I just want to take this moment to say, growing up there myself, I experienced bronchitis. My classmates, my bronchitis eventually turned into asthma over the years. And the same thing I endured, my classmates endured, people in my family endured the same thing. And the people that are there now, they're going through the same thing. And it's no coincidence. And much like in the video there, the awareness that needs to be spread for these things that are going on has to happen. You know, the sugar factories, the sugar companies, they have to take responsibility for this, simply because, I mean, if nothing more, they have to at least try to promote awareness and try and figure out and get down to the bottom of these health issues, because the community is dying. Not only that everything's been taken away from the community, but the community itself is dying. And the black snow that comes from the sky, that stuff, it's all, people are breathing that stuff in, and they're getting sicker and sicker every day. But more than anything, because I have 4 young boys at home, those kids, what they're going through, and they can't do anything about it. They don't have the means to get out of there due to the lack of resources and money and those things. It hurts me. So whatever time that I have, I'm gonna try my best to try and see that this issue is brought to the forefront and that we find a way together as a community, not just Belle Glade, not just the Berman Law Firm, not here, but the community in West Palm Beach. Because the people to the east, I mean, obviously, they live a great life, you know, and it's not their fault, right? But you gotta have some empathy and some compassion for the people to the west of you. I mean, we're all in this thing together, this thing called life. So, you know, try to help a neighbor, because it's not their fault that they're suffering and have to endure this stuff. The sugar companies, they have to be the one to step up and answer these questions and show concern for the people. So I'm gonna do whatever I can to help out. And later on, if you guys need questions or whatever from me, I'll be more than happy to answer those.
Thank you, Fred. Zach West is the lead attorney on the class action lawsuit from the Berman Law Group. Zach.
Thank you. We filed this complaint as a class action, and we petitioned the court to represent two different classes. The first is a medical monitoring class composed of residents in the affected area. And we've defined that affected area as the area composed of the zip codes of Belle Glade, Pahokee, and South Bay. And the second class is a property devaluation class that's defined as property owners, real property owners in that area from June 2015 through the present. The medical monitoring subclass is where we've asked the court to develop and to implement and establish a health monitoring program where they would be monitoring the health of the people, the residents there who have been exposed to pollutants from defendant sugarcane burning in order to identify and begin to treat any health conditions that are created in that population as a result of the sugarcane burning. And we're also seeking full reimbursement for the depression of property values in that area, again related to the sugarcane burning. The costs of such a program are going to be enormous. But it's also important to note that it is not our intention to bankrupt the sugar industry. It's not our intention to put them out of business or to keep them from farming in that area. What we want is for them to be good neighbors to the residents. And that's why we have also requested an injunction from the court to stop the pre-harvest sugarcane burning. The full reimbursement for the property devaluation is very important. The health monitoring is also very important, but it's equally important to ensure that these harms don't continue into the future. Thank you.
Thank you. We have with us Clover Coffey, who is one of the longest residents of the Glades, very well known, and he could tell us stories for generations, that go back generations. Mr. Coffey, please.
My name is, good afternoon. My name is Clover Coffey. I grew up in Belle Glade. I'm a military veteran and have lived in Belle Glade most of my life. I am a retired barber and business owner and have owned property for many years in the Belle Glade area. During the sugarcane burning season, I can smell smoke at my house 4 to 5 miles away. 4 days a week, they burn sugarcane. I am very concerned about many people in my community, especially children. I see far too many children on breathing devices, including my own grandchild. I hear from too many parents who are concerned about their children during the sugarcane burning season. Elderly folks also have serious breathing problems because of it. The burning doing lots of bad things. They discolor homes and cars. The black snow is slowed across our properties. My motto and words to live by are good, better, best. Never let it rest. So the good is the goodest, and your better is your best. I hope the Sugarcane endurers will listen to these words and improve its practices to help the people of our community who are their neighbors. In closing, I would like to say that I am not a public figure, and I would appreciate it if you would respect my privacy. Thank you.
Frank Biden is a senior advisor here at the Berman Law Group. Mr. Biden.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm humbled by Mr. Coffey and Fred. I am privileged to speak in one voice with them, having visited the Glade on numerous occasions over many years. It's obvious to anyone with eyes, ears, and a nose that something's wrong, something's rotten in the Glade. And what's rotten is the ubiquitous burning of the sugarcane. In fact, it's unconscionable. Our request is simple, and it's easily accomplished. Stop burning the cane. Stop burning the cane. And then people of goodwill, of whom there are many in the sugar industry, will come together along with us and create a solution for the medical difficulties, for the health problems that have been created, especially for the most vulnerable in that community, the elderly and the very young. These solutions are right in front of us. All they take is intellectual property, money, and a good plan. We propose to do all those things and work in unison with those people of goodwill in the sugar industry to get the job done for people in Fred's home and in Mr. Coffey's home. I just am proud of the fact that our firm can be the conduit to get that done. And it's about time, it's about time to call attention to what is not just a problem, this is a crisis. And it's a crisis of the first order. So let's enlist everybody in our community, in all of South Florida, and put a light where it needs to be shown. Right there out west in the beautiful fields where the sugarcane grows. Again, let's be clear. The solution is simple. We have the technology, they have the technology to forgo burning. Let's start there. Good afternoon. Thank you.
For the media, we will be distributing copies of the video. One thing you can even tell from my face, they were burning that day, how puffy I was compared to scenes where it's not. That immediately happened. We talked about that. Other people that work at the firm who also were out there. It is, even if you're not subject to it every day, it's extremely noticeable. And one of the most upsetting things to me is when we went out there to start to talk to some of the residents, that they were enlisting us with their problems. Just more and more people, Fred, Frank, were there as well, will come up in the droves. My children are sick, my children are sick. We heard about the stories about how during the burning season, they bring in oxygen for the students in the schools in that area. It is a really underlooked problem that is truly causing risk to the entire community. Representing that area for quite some time, it's just troubling to me that It's still going on, still exists. One of our largest competitors in the sugarcane business as a state are Brazil and Australia. They do not burn. They outlaw burning in their nations. So try that on for a thought. We will open it up to questions. So.
What would be the option, the other option besides burning that you guys are referring to?
There's several. One, what they do in Brazil, they go in and this actually creates more jobs. They chop the cane. They chop the cane. There's also what Frank alluded to, technology, where there's machines that take that waste and put it right back in the ground and it turns into fertilizer. So this is not, we live in a day and age where if you could think of it, you can achieve it. This is an easy problem to solve of the highest degree.
Mr. Brusso, why now? What was the nexus for this to happen now? Because obviously this has been going on for decades, as you're probably well aware.
Sure. Well, for several reasons. Number one, it really just started to be brought to the legislators' attention, the new legislators' attention, the problems. And I will tell you exactly why. I remember like yesterday, we were having a legislative update. I was obviously in the House or the Senate at the time. And Mr. Hadley from the Century Village News was there. And he asked the legislators, the wind shifted during a burn and it hit Century Village, Boca Raton. And many residents there were very upset. So that's when it first started to come to life, us learning about it to a degree. And then when I exited the legislature in November, and I had the opportunity to come here and work for this great firm, they were already onto it. They were enlisting scientists and experts and going through what was in there. And as you probably see from the release, they're burning sugarcane that has pesticides, herbicides, insecticides, and other agriculture chemicals, toxic chemicals, and, organic compounds, sulfur oxide, nitrogen oxides. This is all within that sugarcane. Think about that, and being dumped on the people primarily of the Glades. So it is the time. To answer your question, should it have been stopped years ago? Absolutely, but there come today's the day that we're bringing attention to it.
The studies cited were from in the lawsuit from 2016 in Mexico. Are those apples to apples? And is that?
Obviously, this isn't 2016 in Mexico, so in that regard, it's not necessarily. But those studies we believe are applicable and relevant to this question here.
Just for clarity, you're the lead attorney on the case. Neither Mr. Brusso nor Mr. Biden are attorneys. Is that right?
That is correct.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Brusso, over the course of your political career, you took at least $15,000 from the defendants named in this class action suit.
Through the party and PACs, it took a lot more than that.
Sure. If you were aware of what this was doing to your constituents while you were taking money, why did you take their money?
I wasn't aware. It actually came to my light in 2017 from the meeting that I just disclosed. One of the most unbelievable things about that is in helping the Glades for as long as I did, bringing millions of dollars to the community, we heard about the roads. We heard about the water, which quite frankly, if you had, I know, George, you've seen the pipes and things of that nature, it was disgusting. We heard about jobs, the economy, getting property that the state owned up for sales. No one ever approached us about the sugarcane burns. So until it started to hit the West, it was the first I ever heard about it in a robust way that we had to attack it. And I started digging into it immediately. I first went to sugar. I alerted them of it. We've had multiple conversations through the years, and I exited office and pledged to continue the fight.
Senator Brusso?
Yes.
Big Sugar has very deep pockets. They're not going to take this lying down. How difficult a fight do you think they're going to put up? And how many years do you think this will be in litigation? And what hope do you have for the residents? I know you're seeking immediate injunctive relief on the burns, but what about the overall case?
Look, I fully expect them because it's already come to my attention that they're saying to the people in the community that this is going to put the sugar industry out of business. That is probably the biggest lie I've ever heard in regards to a corporation. They make so much money, as we heard, from the subsidy they get from the federal government. From what we know, U.S. Sugar is a publicly traded corporation. That there's statistics on all over, very Googleable as far as what you could find on the web and what they make. So to say that we're gonna hire more people to cut the cane is gonna put them out of business is a lie. So we know things are gonna be put out there that are simply not true. As far as the duration of the legal matter, I'm not an attorney, I'm not the attorney on that, that's Zach, and I don't believe we could speculate to that at all. Hopefully they stop the burning. We start getting medical relief for many of the children and elderly that cannot afford it, and people in general, and we could hopefully, in a perfect world, we come to a solution, we come up with a plan, we attack it, we save the people, we save the community, and we all move forward together. George, go ahead.
Joe Biden's presidential campaign today came out with a video talking about environmental justice and going against polluters who harm people in low-income areas. Your role in this lawsuit out today, can you address what level of coordination there was between the Biden campaign and this law firm that Frank Biden's advising?
George, there was absolutely no coordination. It was serendipitous that Joe's environmental policy came out today. That's notable. Our thoughts are the same, but there was no coordination. This is obvious to anyone. This is really not news. This is just the first time we've created a real point of awareness. So we hope to continue to drive this home. I'm sure every other candidate in the race would have a similar opinion.
You cite a bunch of studies, backing up the connection here. Are you aware if the Department of Health monitors this issue at all? Did you contact them to get any data? Do you know any link that they have that they've shown?
We're aware of that there's a Department of Health monitor that is in the area. We believe that there may be issues with that monitor and the data that it shows. To my knowledge, we have not spoken to the Department of Health or received information from them at this point, other than what is publicly available in relation to that monitor.
What sort of issue?
Yeah.
I'm not prepared to talk about the issue at this point, but.
Okay. And also, the lawsuit says that the industry is ostensibly regulated by the Forest Service, also implying that perhaps they're not doing their job. Why were they not included in this lawsuit, and what do you believe that they're not doing adequately to protect residents here?
You might be reading into the word ostensibly a little too much, but I would say that they were not included in the lawsuit because it just didn't make sense from a legal perspective to have them as a defendant. And in terms of what they may or may not be doing, I mean, these burns are, the Florida Forest Service does authorize them, and they seem to potentially be rubber stamping them, but that's further than, I'm not gonna go into that any further than that at this point.
Haven't been able to read through the suit yet, but do you present evidence that, is there like a higher incidence of respiratory issues or things like that in the glades that you can document that would be attributable?
So evidence is going to be something that's going to be fleshed out in discovery. So the complaint is allegations, and we believe that there is support and will continue to be support for those allegations in the complaint.
But one of the things mentioned in the video was that there's 700 asthma hospitalizations per 100,000 residents in Palm Beach County. Is there any sense is that higher, lower than normal? Is that what's typical? Is 700 out of 100,000 a lot?
I'm not prepared to speak to that specific statistic, but I believe that the evidence will show that there is an increase in respiratory issues related to burning.
How many people are involved in this? It says Clover and Jean, but how many people total?
So in the complaint, we mentioned there's approximately 40,000 residents in the affected area, and so it would be approximately that number that we would be petitioning the court to represent a class composed of those people.
And do you have an idea, cost-wise, of if you prevail, what the cost would be to do the medical monitoring and to the damages and everything? Is there any sense?
I don't have a specific number today.
Is it billions, or can you give even just a ballpark?
I don't have a specific number today.
Any further questions?
I'd like to ask him some questions if that's possible. Does he wanna?
He asked for his privacy. That would be up to to him, so please do not, if he doesn't want to talk, I'd appreciate it if he did respect it.
Do you mind if we ask you a few questions? You don't want to?
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you coming. If you need any one-on-ones with these gentlemen, we'll be happy to stick around. Come on down. Shut all the lights. Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Mr. Coffey. Thanks, everybody. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Zach. Thanks, everybody. And did everybody get a chance to put their email address and name on there?
I did not.
Yeah, we'll let you know as new stuff comes.
Sure.